Are we live? Let's see if we are live. Let's see if we are live. Liveness. Are we in the state of being live? Yes, we are. Ah, yes. Very nice. All right. Let's see here, ladies and gentlemen. Just getting ourselves all set up. We're just getting ourselves all set up. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. All right. All right. Let's take a look over here. Get ourselves all set up. Bop right there. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It is beautiful. Beautiful. Yes. All right. All right. Perfect. There we go. All right. All right. We're getting ourselves all shit up here. Let's get ourselves all shit up here. Good morning, good morning, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. Hope you guys had a wonderful New Year's and a wonderful New Year's weekend. Hope you guys are doing well, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. To say good morning to you. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ourselves all set up here. 1 second. All right. Let's see here. Hold on. Just getting everything all shared. Good. Beautiful. Let's get this over here. All right. Beautiful. Perfect. Okay. Got everything all set up over here. There we go. There we go. Okay.
Are you on the X?
I'm on the X. I am live on the X. Let's check and see if we are live on the Twitch. Are we live on the Twitch? Let's check and see. All right. There we go. All right. Beautiful. Let's get it. All right. Let's get this intro started. What's up, guys? It's Double Nix, and welcome to another episode of Microcap Mornings. I am your host with the most. They call me DBL Nix in the house, aka the Rainmaker. And I am here with the lovely Serengeti specialist herself. She likes to hang around the tall weeds, the high trees, the low seas, hitting them high knees. Sometimes she likes 2 cups of coffee. Other times she likes to jet ski. Other times she likes to regular ski. Other times she likes to get shot at the cannon and she goes, wee! Other times she goes to RBs and likes to watch videos of puppies and kitties. Other times she likes to go and check out the stock market for them ABCDs. Other times she likes to steal my low main. Other times she's just chilling at Wendy's. And other times she calls some wonderful stonks like MOBX, MASK, and SOWG. We call her DBM Moms. Hey! All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, hope everybody's doing well. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, so far we got quite a few stonks to look at. There were a couple of stonks that we called that did move quite a bit. All right. So, we called MOBX, which ran up a nice 82%. All right, we called that early in the morning. We called SOWG, SOWG, which ran up a nice 64%, 64%. There we go. And we called MASK, MASK. That stonk ran up a nice 55% right there. So we called that, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we got going on there. That is what we got going on there, ladies and gents. So yeah. All right. Give me a second, ladies and gentlemen. Got myself some orange juice. Freshly squeezed. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what we got going on, folks. That is what we got going on. All right. All right. All right. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as ring that bell icon to stay notified when new videos are uploaded. And remember to share, because sharing is caring, ladies and gentlemen. Sharing is caring. And, of course, if you want access to... My brain just drew a blank. Hold on. If you want access to our private Discord, link to join us in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different. And the early bird gets the cash, the moolah, the loot, the cashola, the big bucks, I tell you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, that's what we got going on. That is what we got going on. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at some stonks here. All right, ladies and gents, let's see here. What we got going on? What we got? Let me add them. All right, so we got quite a few stonks to look at here. We got GHRS. Let's see here. Boom. All right. So GHRS currently, as of now, up 44% and is currently $19 and that's it, pretty much $19 and change. So we got that going on right there. Let's take a look at the movement over here. So it had quite a bit of indecisive wicks over here, then moved its way on up, bop right over here, formed a bit of a pennant right over here, bop right there. All right, boom, boom. All right, and then boom right there. All right, then afterwards it shot up once again over here, boom, boom, and boom. Has to break the descending wedge over here. It is currently above the VWAP, which is good. That's a good sign. However, it needs to break above this descending wedge for it to be somewhat schmexy to meh. Otherwise, you know how it is, ladies and gentlemen. So let's take a look. Over here. Let's go and type here GHRS needs to break the descending wedge and hold above the VWAPA. So we got that going on right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is what we got going on right there. All right, so let's take a look at JCSE. How's JCSE looking? JCSE had a major price spike off of little to no volume right there. Float is 2 million. Volume is 9 million. So we got that going on right there. So now it's got some movement over there for the volume. It's got some volume. But
Mark Roach asking about BNAI, and he said good morning.
Good morning, Mark Roach. Good morning. Happy 2026 on the YouTubes. Yes. All right. He wants BNAI. All right. And we got Consistency Spike asking for GVH. All right. JV for G. All right. So let me get Mark Roach here. Then I'll get you Consistency. All right. Give me a second. BNAI, actually. BNAI. Let's take a look at BNAI. All right. So BNAI currently needs to break this little pennant right over here. It was above the VWAP at one point in time, but then went below the VWAP again, and then kind of climbed above it, then below it, and it's kind of been back and forth between being above and below the VWAP as of now. It has to break this little pennant right over here for it to be so much maxi to mya. As for price action, let's take a look over here. It is currently up 4%. All right. Let's take a look at the float. Float is 4.214 million. So the float is pretty reasonable float. All right, but the volume, however, is 492.7 thousand. So as of now, it's very low on volume. The float is reasonable, but the volume is low. So we got that going on right there. That is something that we got going on right there. Does it have any news? Let's take a look and see. All right, so last week.
Not this week's news. Last week's news.
All right, so this is last week's news that it regained compliance with Nasdaq. Okay, so that's news, but you know it's old news. So as of now, let me actually get this graffiti pencil over here, bot right there, and bot right here. Okay, so as we can see here, there is a support line for the stock at $3.92. Has some resistance at $3.97. Then you got the VWAP, which is just below at $3.98. Then after that, you got 404, which is the next resistance line here. And then afterwards, you got 414, which is the next resistance line after that. So you got that going on right there. That is what you got going on right there. Currently, it is trying to peak above this pennant, and it is trying to test the VWAP. So we'll see what happens. It's trying to test the resistance and the VWAP and is peaking above the pennant, but needs to break that VWAP and stay above that VWAP for it to be so much maxi. To me, needs volume. That's really my thought process. BNAI needs some volume for it to be so much maxi to me. That's what it needs. BNAI needs volume to break above the VWAP and resistance line. Needs to break the pennant. There we go. All right, so we got that going on right there. That is what we got going on. Give me 1 second. Let me get my glasses on real quick. There we are. All right. So that's what we got going on, folks. That is what we got going on. Give me 1 second. 1 second. All right, so let's see what else we got. Let's take a look at GVH, which is what consistency asked for. Let's take a look at GVH. GVH, as of now, is moving on some very low volume. I could tell just by looking at the indecisive wicks. It is currently up 0.7%, and it is Global Vend Holdings Limited. Let's take a look at the float. Float is 1.5 million. 1.5 million. Volume is 13.5K, so we got that going on right there. So as of now, the float is reasonable, volume is low on this stock right here. So we got that going on. Let's take a look at the news. Let's see if it's got any news. And it seems like Global Vend came out with some news on the 2nd, which was 3 days ago. So let's see here. Global Vend shares rose higher in the pre-market session on Friday. When on Wednesday, the firm said that it had set terms for a registered direct offering to expected to raise about $1.4 million. The Texas based e-commerce logistics provider set the effective purchase price at $1.60 per share. So they basically did an offering, and then they filed a Form 424B5 over here, announced the closing of a 1.4 registered direct offering, filed a Form 6, and then, again, this is just news about the direct offering. So they had a direct offering. That's pretty much their news. That's about it. As of now, this stock doesn't really have much in terms of volume. The volume is extremely low. There's a lot of indecisive wicks, very, very choppy as of now. Kind of fell below the VWAP as well. So really, this stock needs some volume. It needs volume for it to be so much maxi to me. So I'll just put this here. GVH needs volume to break the choppiness, really. The choppiness and the VWAP. Yes. So we got that going on right there. That is what we got going on right there. All right. So let's take a look at another stock here. Let's take a look at MOBX. MOBX How's MOBX looking? All right, so MOBX has some unconfirmed Q4 earnings due in 11 days on January 16th after the market close. So we got that going on right there. Let's zoom in the room over here. Okay, so let's take a look over here. Bop right there. Bop, bop, and bop right there. Okay, so as of now, MOBX is looking man,
Parabolique.
Ooh, okay, all right. So MOBX as of now needs to break the pennant for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya, and needs to break above the VWAP. That's what it needs to do right here. MOBX needs to break the pennant and the VWAPA for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. All right, MNTS. Let's see how MNTS is doing. MNTS just shot up like a rocket just now on some news. There we go. There we go. All right.
Flight test on Vega Ride.
All right. Let me read the news. Okay, so first things first. MNTS has a 2 million float, 3 million volume. Has some news that Momentus announces the development of an additive manufactured fuel tank, and that fuel tank is scheduled to perform flight testing aboard Momentus's Vigoride 7 orbital service vehicle. So they basically manufacture a fuel tank, and yeah, it's going to be an orbital service vehicle. That's the plan. So that's what we got going on right there. They manufactured a fuel tank with a strategic partner, Velo 3D, to be flight tested on the Vigoride 7 mission. So that's what they got going on. We're going to space. That's where we're going. That's what we're doing right now.
Space.
Yes, space. All right. MNTS currently had a price spike going on there because of this, and is currently above the VWAP. Needs to remain friends with the trend for it to be somewhat schmexy to Meow. So MNTS price spike needs to remain friends with the trend. All right, so we got that going on right there. That is what we got going on. All right, let's see what else we got here. VRME. How's VRME looking? VRME up 29%. Let's take a look over here. VRME has an 11 million float, a little bit heavy. Volume is 6 million, so it is a low volume stunk right here. So we got that going on right there. Let's get a little graffiti pencil over here. All right, needs to break this pennant right over here. Had a bit of an ABCD early in the morning. All right, but then proceeded to create a pennant right over here. So needs to break this pennant for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. Up 26%. So we got that going on right there. That is what we got going on. All right, so let's take a look over here. VRME needs to break the pennant and the VWAPA, and hold above the VWAPA because it's currently above the VWAPA. The VWAPA, it just broke above the VWAPA because it went down below the VWAPA and then it went back above the VWAPA. So it's got that going on right there. Needs to break the pen and hold above the VWAPA for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. Up 29%. So we got that going on. Yes, 29% right there. All right, so GHRS still needs to break that descending wedge right now. Still needs to break that descending wedge for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mya. GHRS still needs to break above the descending wedge. There we go. All right. Let's see about another stunk over here. Let's see what other stunks we got. Over here? All right, let's take a look. Let's see here. MNTS as of now forming a bit of a resistance line over here. Has some news, though. Give me 1 second. Bop right there. So, Momentus shares are trading higher after the company announced the development of an additive manufactured fuel tank that is scheduled to perform flight testing aboard its Vigoride 7 orbital service vehicle. So we got that going on right there. Still, that is what we got going on. That is the same news right there. And it doesn't look like it's holding above The VWAPA, it looks like it's falling below it right now. It did hit a double top over here at some, well, a bit of a resistance line over here at the 850 mark over here. So we got that going on right there. That is what we got going on. Let's take a look over here.
Request by consistency for GVH. Did you get that one?
Yes, I did that one already.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. All right. So MNTS currently needs to break this little descending wedge right over nya for it to be somewhat schmexy to nya. So as of now, MNTS needs to break the descending wedge. All right. MNTS needs to break the descending wedge for it to be somewhat schmexy to nya. All right, let's take a look at what else we got. MOBX. Let's take a look at MOBX, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. MOBX still needs to break above that pennant and the VWAPA. Still needs to break that pennant and the VWAPA right there. MOBX, all right. MOBX needs to break the pennant and the VWAPA for it to be somewhat schmexy to mia. All right, let's see here. VRME. VRME has VRME looking. VRME curling off the pennant right now. That's good. I like that. I like that. I like that. VRME curling off the pennant right now, up 43%. 43%. Needs to stay above. It is a bit overbought on the RSI, but that's okay. It is what it is. It is currently climbing its way on up 45% right now. Up 45%. All right. VRME up 45%. Curling off the pennant right now. There we go. Currently climbing its way on up right now. Currently climbing its way on up. Looking schmexy. Yes, sir. VRME. Yes, that's the one I'm looking at. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So that's what we got going on. VRME looking schmexy right now. Climbing its way on up. Yeah, that's what we got going on right there. Let's get some support resistance slides for it. All right, all right. Let's take a look over here, Bob. All right, so what we got going on right here is we got support at the 93-cent mark. Needs to break above the $1.03 mark for it to continue to be schmexy to mya, but right now has to break above the $1.03 mark, has to hold above 93 cents for it to continue to be schmexy to mya. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, so let's take a look at MOBX. MOBX, as of now, MOBX, let's take a look over here. All right. Oh, Hot Bit Boy asks for MNTS. All right, we will take a look at MNTS shortly after MOBX. Let's take a look over here. All right, so MOBX, again, same thing, pennant, needs to break above the VWAP. MOBX needs to break the VWAPA for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. All right, let's take a look at MNTS. MNTS. All right, MNTS still needs to break that little downtrend over there, a little descending wedge right there for it to be so much schmexy to mya. Actually, you know what? I honestly would say, yeah, actually, you know what? Yeah, this is fine. MNTS really needs to break this descending wedge right here and needs to break above the VWAP right over here for it to be so much schmexy to mya. Is currently below a bit of a resistance line right over here at the 850 mark, right over here. So it's got that going on right there. That is what it's got going on right there. Again, Momentous has news that they shared that their shares are trading higher after the company announced their development of an additive manufactured fuel tank that is scheduled to perform flight testing aboard the Vigoride 7 orbital service vehicle. So we got that going on right there. That is what we got going on right there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. 1 second. All right. So, as of now, MNTS is currently trying to test that VWAP right now. Can it break through? We'll have to see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to see what happens. MNTS trying to test the VWAP. We're going to see what happens with it. We'll see what happens with MNTS. It looks like it's climbing above the VWAP. Needs to break this descending wedge for it to be so much schmexy to mya. There we go. There we go. All right. So as of now, that's what we got going on right there. GHRS. Let's take a look at GHRS. All right, GHRS currently still trying to test this pennant right here. Currently still trying to test the pennant. Trying to test that pennant right there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So GHRS trying to test the pennant and stay above the VWAPA for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. All right, so let's see about JCSE. All right, so JCSE as of now is currently below the VWAPA, right there. And it looks like it had a bit of a downtrend going on over here. JCSE had a bit of a downtrend going on right here. JCSE needs to break the downtrend for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. Yesh. VRME. Let's take a look at VRME right now. Currently, VRME did break the high of day at one point and hit $1.07. Had that going on right there. Currently is at the 99-cent mark right now, up 47%. Broke above that $1.07 mark. So it broke the high of day, and that was pretty much what we had going on right there. So VRME broke the high of day. Needs to keep climbing for it to be so much mexy to mya. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. All right. MNTS. Let's take a look at MNTS right now. MNTS looks like it's trying to test that descending wedge right now. Looks like it's really trying to test that descending wedge. Again, this stock has news that they're trading higher after the company announced the development of an additive manufactured fuel tank that is scheduled to perform flight testing aboard its Vigoride 7 orbital service vehicle. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get a share party going. Let's get a share party going. Share party. Let's get a share party going, ladies and gentlemen. Come on now. Let's get to 500. Let's get to 500, ladies and gentlemen. Come on now. So, MNTS currently climbing its way on up. Yeesh. Currently climbing its way on up. MNTS trying to climb its way on up and test that descending wedge. It's trying to test the descending wedge, trying to break through it a little bit. We'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. MNTS trying to test the descending wedge. Trying to test that descending wedge. Can it curl? Let's see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Curl, baby, curl. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. All right. Let's see what else we got here. All right. GHRS. How's GHRS holding up? All right. So, GHRS currently still needs to break that little descending wedge and hold above the VWAP for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. GHRS still needs to break the VWAPA and the descending wedge for it to be so much schmexy to mya. James Vincent, thank you for reposting the stream, brother. Thank you. Much love. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get a share party going. Let's get to 600. And ladies and gentlemen, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring that bell icon to stay notified when new videos are uploaded. Remember to share, and be sure to check out our 4-day trial for the real-time alerts and scanners for only $9.99. Link to join us in the description down below, as well as the pinned comment section. So be sure to check that out. We pick a lot of baggers a lot of times. We are just made different, and the early bird gets the cash. And if you act now, you get that 4-day trial for the real-time alerts and scanners, where you gain access to our amazing scanners right over here, which shows you the ticker, the price, the volume, the float, the change in percentage, whether the stock is moving up or down, the time frame in which it was scanned, hyperlinks that also show the charts as well as news and other information on the stock. And to top it off, you get access to our newsroom, which shows articles, article synopses, all sorts of amazing hyperlinks that lead to bigger articles, as well as the tickers that are affiliated with the news within said articles, and the hyperlinks to the tickers information that is affiliated with said article. And to top it off, you gain access to our stock ticker tape. You gain access to even more amazing stuff like that. The stock ticker tape is what we use to basically keep an eye on stocks. It's basically the stocks that we're keeping an eye on ourselves. And to top it off, you gain access to an amazing, wonderful educational community, and that's just with the real-time alerts and scanners. And if you get the Wealth Builders package, you basically gain access to everything the real-time alerts and scanners has to offer. And not only that, you gain access to exclusive Wealth Builders permissions. You get access to exclusive Wealth Builders picks. You get access to an exclusive Wealth Builders chat. You get access to Coach Nick Money and myself, obviously. And to top it off, you gain access to an educational course of over 500 videos, probably way more than that, by the way. But I'm lowballing it and saying 500. There's probably way more videos than that. So you gain access to an amazing educational community and educational courses to top it off, ladies and gentlemen. So we got that going on, and that shows how we trade and what works best for us. So, yeah. That's what we got going on right there. So let's take a look at VRME. VRME, as of now, is currently still curling off that pennant right now. Had a bit of a drop, but then climbed its way back up. Currently up to $1 right now. So currently climbing its way on up. VRME climbing on up, ladies and gentlemen. Climbing on up. So VRME still on the uptrend as of now. Let's see here. Boom, right there. VRME is still on the uptrend here. JCSE currently needs to break this downtrend still, and needs to break the VWAP as well for it to be somewhat schmexy to mya. JCSE needs to break the downtrend and the VWAPA for it to be so much maxi to mya. There we go. JCSE. Give me 1 second. Let me get something to drink here. All right. There we go. SOWG. Let's take a look at SOWG. How's SOWG? All right. So SOWG had a price spike here, then proceeded to kind of start going down a bit more and made a bit of a pennant right over here. It needs to break above this pennant and above the VWAPA for it to be so much schmexy to mya. That's what we got going on for SOWG, up 22%. 22%. SOWG needs to curl off the pennant and the VWAPA for it to be so much schmexy to mya. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. There we go. There we go. All right, all right, all right. Let's see here. Let's take a look at DVLT. Someone requested DVLT. DVLT currently barcoding and very, very choppy, but up above the VWAPA. So I'll give it that right there. But it doesn't exactly look like it's got much in terms of the volume department. The float is extremely high at 263.6 million. Volume is 31 million and change. So 31 million. So we got that going on right there. But as of now, the float is extremely high. Volume is extremely low. And it looks very, very choppy, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very, very choppy uptrend. So as of now, this does not exactly look healthy. So we got that going on right there. DVLT moving on low volume. All right. Hunton asked for JCSE. Let's take a look at JCSE. JCSE still needs to break that downtrend, still needs to break that VWAP for it to be so much mexy to Mia. As of now, currently, that's what we got going on right there. Let's get some support and resistance lines for it. Bop right here, bop right there. All right. And we currently have support at the $1.22 mark. Has to break through $1.33, 141, 147, which is where the VWAP is, 150, 160, and then 176 for it to really be so much maxi to me. So JCSE, as of now, really needs to break that downtrend and needs to break through the resistance and VWAP. JCSE still needs to break the downtrend for it to be somewhat schmexy to Mia. There we go. There we go. All right. Alex Martinez asks for VRME. VRME, let's take a look at VRME. Currently climbing its way back up again. Climbed its way back up once again and broke through the high of day up to $1.17. Hit a high of probably higher than 63% because right now it's going back down. But it needs to hold above that $1.04 mark, break through the $1.17 mark right there. Went up to around 63 to 66% right there. So I'll call it 63 for now to low ball it. VRME hit a high of 63% right there. Breaking the high of day. Baby. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So we got that going on. Looks like it's trying to test the high day once again, ladies and gentlemen. Up 70% right there. So hit a high of 70%. 70% right there. 70%. There we go. There we go. There we go. So that's what we got going on right there. That is what we got going on. Brittany says, wait for pullback on DVLT, seller exhaustion. Brittany says, hey, could you guys do GPUS? Sure, we could do GPUS, of course. GPUS. Let's take a look at GPUS. All right, as of now, with GPUS, it's Hyperscale Data Inc. Its common stock as of now up 11%. Let's take a look at the float. Float is a bit heavy at 323 million. Volume is 59.1 million. So we got that going on right there. So as of now, it's very low on volume. Float is extremely high. Has that going on right there. Does it have any news? Let's take a look over here. For the news, we don't have much. We don't have much news. There was a major insider move at Hyperscale Data that stunned the market watchers for GPUS, but other than that, not much really going on there. So they filed a Form 4 saying that Alt Company Inc. bought 1,608,833 at average shares at average price. So they got that going on right there. But other than that, there's not really much going on right here. So as of now, this doesn't really have much in terms of news, but let's take a look at the chart over here. Chart is currently below the VWAP, Let me get some support and resistance lines here. So that way we could basically keep an eye on it right here. Bop right there. All right, bop and bop right there. So currently, as of now, has to hold above the 29-cent line over here. Has to break above 31 cents, then 32 cents, which is where the VWAP is, as well as the next resistance line, 34 cents, 35 cents, and then 38 cents for it to be so much mexy to me. But as of now, is currently on a bit of a downtrend over here. So it needs to break this downtrend and needs to break the VWAP for it to be so much mexy to me. Otherwise, it's Was leaning towards being oversold on the RSI over here. All right, so it has to kind of became a bit more indifferent on the RSI here. So as of now, GPUS really needs to break the downtrend over here. Brittany says they own 30 million in Bitcoin apparently, which is good. That's good. That's good for them. Something like that. Yeah, that's good for them. That's very good for them. But they need to definitely break this downtrend for it to be 157 Bitcoin. All right. Yeah. Yep. That tracks. That's good. That's good news for them. Thing is, they still need to break this downtrend over here. They still need to break this VWAP, and they still need to keep trying to climb up and break these resistance points right here for it to be so much mexy to me. Otherwise, it's But as of now, currently, it does have You know, they got some Bitcoin, which is good. I like that. That's good. That's good news for them. Just needs to break this downtrend, needs to break the VWAP for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Then after that, it needs to focus on those resistance lines. So, GPUS as of now, first things first, it needs to focus on breaking through, needs to break the downtrend, needs more volume, right? Because it is very low on volume. The float is extremely high. So to compensate for a high float, you need high volume. So you got to get that right there as well. So that's something that needs to be done for it to be so much maxi chumya right there. Get that stretching. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. All right. All right. All right. Let's see what else we got. What else we got? Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Let me at him. Let me at him. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. There we are. Let's take a look over here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. All right. So, as of now, currently, not really much going on over here. Not really much going on. All right, let's take a look over here. James Vincent asks, how do we buy and sell pre-market? I forgot what platform allowed it. Normally, if you want to buy and sell pre-market, I'm pretty sure Webull allows for that. So Webull is normally...
Schwab at 7 a.m.
Yes. So basically, there are two platforms that I know of that really allow for it. You got Webull, which allows you to do that, and then Schwab, which starts at 7 a.m. in terms of pre-market. So they got that going on right there. So if you want to look into stuff like that for trading pre-market, you either look into Schwab, which starts at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or you can get Webull, which starts at, I'm pretty sure, what, like 4? I think so. I think around 4. Around 4 o'clock. So yeah, you got that going on right there. So that's really how you get those little areas right there. So yeah, Schwab or Webull should allow you to do that. Schwab at 7 a.m., but Webull should allow you to trade for the full pre-market though. So we got that going on right there. All right. So yish, that is what we got going on. 1 second, let me get a drink here. Let me get a drink. And ladies and gentlemen, let's get a share party going as well. Let's get a share party going. Let's get to 1100. 1100.
1100.
1100. SMXT. SMXT. Price spike. Solar Max technology.
Bird gets the cash.
Yeesh. All right. So, as of now, SMXT currently shot up like a rocket. Price spike right now. Does it have volume? Let me see. Price spike on low volume because the float is 42 million. Volume is 877,000. So as of now, that's what we got going on right there. James Vincent says, thank you. Getting it now. Yeah. All right, man. Do your thing. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. SMXT.
Awarded $158 million contract.
SMXT was awarded.
Battery storage project in Puerto Rico.
Oh, my. Boricuas. Yes. Yes, the Boricuas. All right. So, Solar Max Technology was awarded a $158 million EPC contract for a 400 milliwatt battery or megawatt battery. I don't know. Storage projects in Puerto Rico. Okay. And they signed a $158.3 million EPC agreement for the utility scale best projects in Puerto Rico. So we got that going on right there. That's what we got going on right there. So as of now, SMXT price spike on some low volume, but does have news. So price spike on low volume with some great news. Yeesh. So we got that going on right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we got going on. Ben asks, GPUS going up today? Let me take a look at GPUS. Let's take a look. All right, as of now, GPUS is currently moving downward. So as of now, GPUS really needs to break above this downtrend and break above this VWAP for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. But right now, it is currently moving on the downtrend right now. It needs to break above this downtrend for it to be somewhat schmexy to me. Currently looks like it's trying to curl above the downtrend a little bit. Looks like it's peaking above it just a bit. We'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see what happens with GPUS, but GPUS looks like it's trying to peak. GPUS looks like it's trying to peak above the 29-cent mark over here, which is support line, has to break the 31. Bit of a resistance line that it is met right over here at the $1.38 mark, right over here. So has some $1.38 mark right over here. So has some resistance right over meow. So has to break above that resistance for it to be somewhat schmexy to meow. SMXT up 50% needs to remain friends with the trend. SMXT needs to remain friends with the trend and break the resistance line, which I think it just tried to do a little bit. So we'll see what happens right there. We shall see what happens right there. Brittany says January 16th. Oh, January 16th. What happened? What happened on January 16th? It's not that date yet. All right, but yes, that's what we got going on, ladies and gentlemen. That is what we got going on. All right, Lalia, thank you for following us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate the follow. I appreciate the follow, Lalia. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Currently, SMXT looks like it's trying to test that little resistance line right there. Looks like it's trying to test it. Maybe try to break above it. Looks like it did break above it a little bit and then went back down. So as of now, SMXT is really trying to fight to break above that little resistance line right over there at $1.38. So on January 16, 2025, Intel's Arc B570 graphics card was released for purchase GPUs, excuse me. So yeah, okay. Intel's Arc B570 graphics card was released for purchase GPUs. So that's what we got going on right there. That's what we got going on. Okay, cool, Brittany. That's awesome. Yeesh. All right. So let's take a look at GPUs then. GPUs. All right. So as of now, GPUs. Oh my! Looks like it's starting to kind of peak above that little downtrend there a little bit.